Hello and welcome back to the channel where we are building a video game from scratch using Love2d and Lua. We're working on a bunch of little bug fixes today. So right now I'm working on trying to fix the particle system for Mage's castle. So at the beginning of the game, when Mage walks out of his castle, a wall of magic kind of appears behind him. And it's working in the cinematic as far as I can remember, but it doesn't work in the overworld after the cinematic. So we gotta try to figure that out. And then the green tunic is rendering right now because we have it equipped incorrectly. So I guess for this, since you can't have the green tunic equipped for this show off, it doesn't work. So we didn't change the player's tunic. See how like the green tunic's on now? There's the magic wall, but we can walk through it. So the weird thing is, are we ever coming out of the opening cinematic here? No, we're not. We have to trigger, because see how Mage is still here? Mage is still outside. That tells me that we're still in the opening cinematic. So we need a way to trigger from our opening cinematic back into our normal play state, and then we need to add the collision for Mage's wall here in the cinematic, and then add the particles in the overworld, because we've got them half working in both scenarios and we need to merge the solutions to both. So we'll have to do that. So let's figure out. I bet if we were to print up what state we're in right there, it would say intro cinematic. So we need to make sure that we can trigger out of the intro cinematic. It's been a little while since we've looked at that code. We have an events folder that kind of holds the stuff. So we have two cinematics, right? The intro cinematic is the first one where Mage rescues Tashio, and then the second one is actually, do we not have a bottom trigger? Let's try the bottom trigger real quick. And I think what I want to do is just take off when we spawn. I want to just say that green tunic is not equipped, just so we don't accidentally see it. Okay, we're missing the particle system here for both the staff and Tashio. And then the green tunic stuff is better now. Okay. We do have the spell equipped, but that's okay. We're trying to trigger a bottom. I forgot why we were there. We're trying to see if we can trigger a scene transition exiting the bottom. Not a scene transition, just an event with Mage there. Huh. Yeah, we don't have... What the heck? I could have sworn we've done this. There, that's what I'm looking for. Why did that happen? What the heck is going on? So normally, like if we're... Let's look at the event of us in the opening cinematic. Okay, so... we have these steps, we have this particle system. Why isn't the particle system rendering? I don't even see a render here in the particle system. But, dude, I mean, this used to work. I don't know why, at what point we broke that. Okay, we're looking for a bottom exit, right? So we're looking for if our player... No. This is just the opening cinematic. So we need to see when we trigger this. Okay, so basically we have a step 7 that looks for a left scene transition. And if the left scene transition works, then we're going to turn off the tutorial text. We're going to reset our collidable map objects. And we're going to change our state machine to a mage intro top trigger. So the intro top trigger is the state that handles the next room, and it shouldn't be called top trigger because it could be a bottom trigger as well. So we should have, see how we have this, we have an option 1 or 2. So an option 1 is if the player's Y position is upwards. So if you walk up smaller than tile size -8. Why do we change animation to walk down there though? Oh, yeah, we changed walk down because we did walk up. Then we need to fix it and make him walk down. Okay. Either way, either option, we insert 2 collidable map objects for the mage wall. So that's looking right. But look at this. Yeah, if our player Y is greater than the bottommost tile, which this looks like, times 7, you know, it goes 10 tiles wide, 8 tiles tall. So tile size times 7 gives us an X of the bottom tile. I'm wondering if we go to step 1. Okay, so step 1 is always just a tween. Yeah, it's always just a tween for our player. Okay, so something's not right with this trigger right here. So maybe we just try a tile size times 6. So it's 1 tile above the very bottom and see if that helps the bottom trigger. So let's see that. Doesn't explain our particle system not rendering here in the intro. Okay, let's try this. We walk down. Oh, it does. Okay, so I don't want it to trigger that soon. Maybe just like half a tile more. It's just that we were exiting before the transition was getting a chance to finish. So we'll try to do this. We do need to render all the particle systems in the opening cinematic. We're rendering the weather, but okay, let's see when it triggers. Nice. Yeah, we start walking out and then Mage comes down the stairs and it forces us to walk up and he says, you know, you don't remember anything. This can be dangerous. You need it for your journey. You get Flamma. I'll find you when you're ready for your next lesson. And then he goes up. So once he goes up, oh shit. See, this is what we don't have. So what happens, you know, we added the collidable map objects here. So why is it that we can still walk through? So because we put the objects in here. So at some point in time, we flush this because they're not there anymore. So at what step? This is all the steps here. So it's like once we change to play state, Okay, we aren't actually... Oh, yeah, we do change the play state right here. Oh, why do we do this in the render? Yeah, we don't want to do this in the render, but... If self step 9 change to play state, yeah. So we want to do this here. Yeah, we will change our player to player walk, and we'll change our state machine to play state. Yes, Tofu, what's up? So we'll change it there. We'll take it out of the render, but we still need to figure out why our collidable map objects aren't going. We insert these right away at the beginning of this intro state. Yeah, we insert it here on the top row. But it looks like we only insert it once we trigger the tween to happen for our player. So by the time we trigger our player tween, so let's try this. Let's instead of changing the play state, actually this is right. Instead of changing to the play state at step 9, let's just try to not do that and see if the collidable map objects are still in the scene. Okay, so they should be in the scene now, and we'll just advance through here. Okay. We just trigger the top transition again. That is jacked up. Okay. Well, we could make the trigger a little higher for this. So here, if our player Y is smaller than, let's try -12 instead of -8, because the idea is we want to put the trigger out of reach from the collidable map objects so that we don't accidentally re-trigger. I mean, we would switch to the play state anyway so that it wouldn't be possible to do that trigger, but for this testing, we kind of need to just see if the collidable map objects are in fact in the right spot. I guess what we could do is just render them and make sure we can see them. Man, yeah, we're still triggering it. So we must not be doing collision detection for this table. I don't know. Let's render the collidable map objects and we'll see. Let's just render these and see if they pop in. It is strange that the particles aren't rendering here. So those red boxes are our collidable map objects. And it's different than something like a treasure chest. A treasure chest is also a collidable map object, but it's not a class object, collidable map object. So, oh, we ended it. I saw it in the previous scene. I saw the two up there, so maybe we messed up. Maybe we messed up the scene that we were supposed to insert them on. Yeah, I don't see him there. That is... okay. So 1019. Is that the right scene even? 1019. Now, we only do this. Okay. So after the opening cinematic is that first one of Mage rescuing us, and then as soon as he dumps us into his castle, then we're in this top trigger, which should just be called Mage Intro instead of top trigger, because it could both bottom or top trigger. So let's make sure this 1019 is the right scene for it. I don't even know. And we can't use our minimap hack because it's off screen. It's in the other world, so we have to kind of just walk over there. Okay, they are there, but 1019, right over here, 1019. Okay, so we can't walk up there now, which is good, but we're not rendering the mage wall, the particles for it. 1019, yes. So why aren't they there? That's so weird. I guess we're not rendering collidable map objects in our top trigger, so they might be there, just not rendered. Because, yeah, we're not really saying... Yeah, we're not rendering them here. Okay, we have to kind of do something like this where we say, let's just take our scene view's current map row and column, render it from there. Okay, so we're basically going into the current scene, checking if there are any collidable map objects. If there are, cycle through them and just render them. But I think this adjacent offset needs to also be the scene view. So let's see if that works. And you know what, I really do, I just don't get why our particle system's not rendering in the opening cinematic. We set the particle system 1 and 2 over here, so where are we rendering particle system? We render both right here. We are updating both particles. And we are rendering both particles. Why don't we see it? Because if we're rendering the lava system, which we are, we know this block is executing. So why can't we see the particles? Let's try to just render one and see. So the thing is, particle system 1... Actually, yeah, we're not doing either of these two, because particle system 1 is mage's staff, and particle system 2 is Tashio. So we're not rendering either of these for some reason. Let's just try particle system 1. Let's see if... I don't know what is different though. Yeah, we're not rendering them. What the heck? Okay, at least let's see if we're now rendering collidable map objects. Now, man, I saw them for like a split second and then they went away. I don't think this is necessary because we have this in the scene. But what I don't get is how we're inserting these collidable map objects only if our player's going off the screen, like... So why does it kind of like flashed right away? I don't get it. I don't get it. We might be accidentally setting the color for the particle system. Well, when we render our particle system in the opening cinematic, let's just explicitly set the color. I mean, we're seeing the lava, so I don't think that's the issue, but can't hurt. We also draw the HUD overlay. I don't see anything that would be screwing up the particle system. Okay, so where do we trigger the mage top trigger? We do it right here. Okay, so this collidable map objects, is this screwing stuff up? Because basically we say, okay, so step 7, which is we're scene transitioning from the tutorial text screen into mage's library. So we're saying, okay, well, if we're transitioning into the library, we flush this table, which is just deleting the collidable map objects. So we just need to not do that so that they're still there. But the thing is, we kind of had this. We had this flush because we need to be able to trigger. You know what? Yeah. So let's take this out. Let's take this out. So there will be a collidable map object there. But instead of being able... You know what? It's tough. Because I want the player to walk a little bit up the stairs before it triggers. And if there's a collidable map object there, they can't do that. So I guess I don't get why we had to clear it, because it shouldn't be in there. We're only inserting it in the mage top trigger scene state. So, oh, there we go. We got our particle systems back. Okay, cool. So let's see. We should have no collidable map objects in the library upon going in there, but upon triggering, there we go. Okay. Well, you know, the fact that they are there is surprising to me because I guess we must have a 1019 map declaration where we put them in there. 1019. I don't see it. Oh, right here, mage wall barriers. Okay, yes. So the idea is we don't want these here. Ideally, I get why I kind of had them here, because it's nice to declare them here in the with everything else, but we don't want them there from the get-go. We just want them there after the cinematic plays, because we want Tashio to walk up the stairs a bit and then trigger mage to come down, and that's when we insert the barrier so that he can't walk back up and follow him. Okay, so yeah, so there's no barrier there. We can walk up the stairs and then we trigger. Now they should be getting inserted right now, the collidable map objects. It might not update the scene because we're in the talking, but let's see if they come back. No, they don't. What the heck? So yeah, 1019. It's all this stuff. 1, 5. Let's see. Mage top trigger. Okay, so what's weird is we give them totally different values here. 1, 5. Tile size versus 4, 5. Why is this so different? Yeah, this must be wrong. Because 1 would be, yeah, row 1, column 5. Yeah, that looks right. So it looks like this is, yeah, it looks like we were just putting them too high. I think we have to put them on this layer. 1, 5 instead of 5, 0. That's just wrong. Pretty sure. So let's see if now the collidable map objects get placed. Okay, so they're not here, and they get inserted. Great. Yeah, we just were dummies with how we put it on the wrong scene here. So we needed to reset our color for our particle system. That fixed that problem, and then inserting the collidable map objects to the correct scene fixed this problem. So now we can't collide and we can't trigger anything, but this should actually be in the play state. So ideally we can have us switch back to the play state at this point in time. But that means we need to put this particle system into the scene specifically. Yeah, this is kind of why we broke it down into its own state machine, so that we can put the particle system here in Mage's Castle without bogging down our main play state. So if we decide, hey, we want to switch back to the main play state at this point in time, then we have to have some sort of system to render a particle system that's only in one scene and hopefully somewhat efficiently. We do have, now that we updated our sand particle system to be on a scene by scene basis, we might be able to do the same with this. So let's take a look at our. Yeah, I want to say that that's for sure wrong. Those ones we used to have in there were for sure wrong. Let's take a look at how we're doing the sand option, right? So we have like a heavy sand or something like that. Where is it? Okay, it's in a dot weather system. Okay, so if we insert, see, because we have, we pass in this heavy sand option, because it would be nice if we can go into our scene and pass in a mage wall option or something, and then we can just render the mage wall. But when we declare the weather with whatever. Okay, so here, in our scene, okay, we could do something like this. You know what? This isn't great. This isn't great because the weather exists in the scene and not the map. Which means that the particles on Mage's wall would not scroll when we scene transition, which would break the illusion. Yeah, I mean, I guess we need a kind of localized particle system for the map instead of the scene, and then only worry about updating it or rendering it if it exists, in the given map. But it's not very pretty, Because at the end of the day, what we're trying to do is render a particle system in a particular scene. And most of our game exists in the play state where you just go from scene to scene and walk around in it, and it just handles that. So like, the thing I'm trying to avoid is because most scenes in the game, 199 out of 200 scenes in the game don't have a mage wall. So I don't like the idea of saying, hey, are we in the one scene that has a mage wall? Let's go ahead and update it and render it every single time we do a scene transition. But at the end of the day, we kind of have to do something like that. So I guess we just have to kind of bite the bullet. Yeah, the big detail is that it needs to be in the map and not the scene, so that it scene transitions. And then we also need to declare it outside of the opening cinematic or the mage intro top trigger. So I guess we will try to we'll try to give our map a particle system. Gosh, man. I'm trying to think though how the game works. The game really only ever knows about the declared state and the current scene as well as the next scene if we're transitioning. Other than that, it doesn't really know. So I guess the particle system would still just exist in the map, but we wouldn't be worried about the map. It would just be kind of in RAM at that point, I guess. Okay. See, look how gross this is. Like, our scene has a dot particle system. In that particle system, in the first index, there's a particle systems table that we're then setting the emission rate, and we're setting it to our own particle system's initial light emission rate setting. So it's just so weird. I mean, I guess we could... It's got to be in our map. It's really got to be in our map. Yeah, let's just add it to our map. It shouldn't be that bad. I'm gonna make a commit right now before we get too far into breaking everything else. Let's just make sure. So yeah, we insert the collidable map objects to the correct location. We aren't changing back to the play state just yet. And we took out... That's wrong. We should just get rid of that, I think. Yeah, we should get rid of that in mage intro trigger. Yeah, ideally we do keep this and change the play state here. But if we do that right now, it would take out our mage wall render, I'm pretty sure. Let's see. Okay, well, are we in the play state then? What the heck? It just works? It's working. We must not be... Yeah, what? We must not be in the freaking... We must still be in the mage cinematic. We'd have to be. State name, state name. So let's... We should have a dot state name for every state machine. So in our play state, let's just render, or in our main, let's render what state we're in, and make sure that we do change the play state, or change the play state, because that's the desired. What we see here is the desired output. So I'm kind of confused that it's just working. So can we do this and say, how would we do this? Our main can't really do it because it doesn't have access to, actually, yeah, I could say current state. Let's just render the state name here. Okay, so it should say mage trigger or whatever once we get inside the castle. Actually, once we go into the library. Yes. Okay. So the question is, does this turn off once we're done with this? It does. What the heck? So we are in the play state and it's rendering, so what's going on? Why are we able to... Why does it... Why does it work? It shouldn't work. This is like a history book moment where I'm like confused that it's actually working instead of confused why it's broken. So we're in the play state. It seems like we've got access to everything else. Like, it seems like we're legit in the play state. Yet, when we go back into Mage's Castle, it renders the particle system, which I don't know how it's doing. Yeah, it's rendering the particle system fine. It goes off screen fine, perfect, too. Huh. What the flip, dude? How is it rendering? How? Because if we look at the mage, like, where is the mage wall? I thought we... See, look at this. We have a particle system in mage intro top trigger. And that should be the mage wall. Magic mage wall right here. We've already done this. We have a class of a magic mage wall that is its own particle system. So when we go into the particle systems table for 1019, we go and insert it. So we insert a magic mage wall into 1019. So we should have something that is rendering the particle systems in the current scene. For our scene, we go ahead, right here, we basically say, dude, where is it happening? It's got to be in the scene render. No, in the map render. Yeah, we're not doing it here. We're updating it. It's gotta... Dude. Is it in the map? We do render it in the map. Okay. Okay. Okay, great. This is exactly what I wanted to do, was to move it to the map. So we have a .psystems in the map, and it renders any localized stuff. But then the scene has a given weather that transcends the locality of the map. So that one won't scroll off screen, but it does change the emission rate. Whereas a magic mage wall inserted into the P-systems table would just render in the map. So okay, so I'm no longer confused why it works. It's just I didn't give past me enough credit for basically turning magic mage wall into a class. So that's cool. We have the ability to insert particle systems on a map basis, which is nice. And then we must be doing something like, if it's not nil, go ahead and update it, because we're not crashing when they don't have a particle system in the map, so that's good. We do need to do... What I don't like is that the very first frame that the magic mage wall is appeared, it it kind of leaks some particles out. So I think what I want to do is, instead of just setting the emission rate all at once, I want to set the opacity all at once. Or quickly fade in the opacity. So yeah, I don't want to set the emission rate in Mage Top Trigger. I want it to set it upon initialization. So when we go and do this, I like the way the Mage Wall is kind of coming into existence is triggered by a certain step in this process, which is right here, that we initialize it here. Okay, so what we could do is give us this particle system in the map from the get-go. Therefore, we have the emission rate set and that we're technically updating it. Yeah, we only update the particle system in the current map, so it's not like we're updating it all crazy on any scene in the game. So I think the idea is we move this into our map declarations, and what we'll put in here instead is we'll make a little method on Mage Wall, which is called Activate. And Activate Magic Mage Wall will just slowly fade in the opacity so that we don't get the awkward leakage on the particles. Because then at that point, yeah, I think I want to do this. We will go, because what we're inserting is a class, and the class itself has different stuff like an emission rate. So it has a .p system that we can then do our set particle lifetime, emission area. So since it's also a class, we can also write a little method for it. So I think I want to move this. Oh, we didn't do a commit, did we? Yeah, let's commit real quick. This is working Mage Wall in map. I'll just say in Mage's library. Okay, so let's move this. Yeah, this is going to be called Trigger Mage Wall. Okay, so we'll move Mage's Wall to the declaration for this scene. So we'll say any, was it 10, 19? No, 10. What was it? 10, 19. I guess we just put it right here. So we're going to say, go into our particle system and give us the Mage Wall from the get-go as we init our game. Just give us that Mage Wall in that place. But that would make it so that the Mage Wall gets, it would only update going into the scene. So we kind of have to, let's see, if we give it there instead, let's see what happens in the cinematic. I think we're gonna get that leakage. Let's see. Yeah, we get the leakage. Because we're not updating the particle system that we initialized until we hit this Mage Intro Top Trigger. So this is okay. This is okay because we're not actually triggering the rendering of this until mage walks back up. So what we could do is, this is fine. It's just that mage magic wall needs to be initialized as non-active, or activate false, right? So mage magic wall, we can say as active as false. So if we're not active, we don't render. So if we are active, let's go ahead and render. And then we'll write a method to just activate, right? Or we just go in there and say active gets true. We don't even need a method. So now we can go to this okay, so yes, instead of inserting the particle system here, we want to go into our map, into our 1019. Now this won't be a smooth look. It will just pop on in one frame, which isn't what we want. But we want to go into the only particle system here and say active gets true, just to see if the rendering is working and we eliminate the particle leakage there, which I think this will work, but we do want it to be more smooth. We want the particles to kind of fade in. Okay, so there is no mage wall rendering. We have the collidable map object, that's looking right. Now as soon as mage goes up and out, it should trigger the particles and they'll pop on in one frame. It won't emit, it won't be like it used to, it should pop on. Yes, it just pops on. Okay, so what we want instead, we want to say like activate mage wall, right? As a method, we'll say activate. And what activate will do, we'll say activate here, and in here we need an activate function. Takes in no parameters, but we need it to do, you know, if here we're only rendering anything if we're active, then the end of activate needs to trigger the active. Well, no. We need to be... Active needs to set its color based on a transparency that gets tweaked by activate. So we can have this opacity starts off as 0, and when we activate, we need to update over time, right? So if this method, if we want to run the activate method, we basically just need to say, okay, let's start increasing our opacity so that we can render it. So when we set our color, we want it to be white essentially, so we have the RGB 255 all around, except we want our opacity to be the alpha channel. Then activate will say, because basically what we need to do is as we update our magic wall, we need to be able to say that opacity gets opacity plus delta time, or whatever it is. Because if this is delta time would be, you know, 1 second every, it would be, delta time is just going to be 1 second every second basically when we add it. So if we want it to fade in 1 second, we'd have to multiply this by 255. So let's add, yeah, we basically want to say let's fade it in over 1 second by doing this, but we don't want to just always increase the opacity. We want to say, we want to clamp it, right? We want to say, well, do the lower of two values. Either it's fully maxed out at full opacity, or you're going to add that opacity. So right now let's go back, and mage wall update should happen anytime we're in that map. So we should see the opacity fade in, but since this is only active, so we have to make sure we become active. We can make this active where it is. Let me see. Where is... right here. Let's go back and just set active to true. And we should be able to see, and I'm going to take out, in our collidable map objects, I'm going to just take out that rendering. Okay, so we're going to see if we fade in over the course of 1 second. And this would happen... Oh, you know what? This isn't right. This will pop in at the same as last time. Because what we're doing is we're updating the opacity as soon as we hit here, but we're not active yet. So by the time we do become active, it'll pop on in 1 frame like it did last time. So this isn't a good way to test it. Yep. Okay. So let's do it better. So if we do, yeah, we don't want to do this active, but we want to say activate at this point in time. So activate will turn active true, which will then, we only want to increase the opacity if we're active. So let's do that here in magic wall. We'll say only if we're active do we then increase our opacity. Otherwise, we render at our opacity anyway, but activate will just say we probably won't have this method if this works. It's just like a one-line switch, so we don't really need a method if all we're doing is setting a boolean. Okay, so far so good. Oh yeah, buddy. That was it, dude. That was it. It faded in nice. Oh, that was good. I do want the particles to be a bit brighter. Yeah, I do want the particles to be a bit brighter, but that looked great. We're going to have to take a whole day sometime and just clean up the freaking code. We've got so much junk everywhere. Let's... What was the last thing I said we would do? Change the color a bit. So Here we've got the colors. If we want them a bit brighter, we can just boost them by 10 all across the board. They also fade. Okay. Oh, we're in ad break. I gotta go take a little break. We'll just see how Mage Wall looks here with the fade in. This is nice though. I've been wanting to get this fixed for a while now. Nice. Nice. Okay, I want to tweak Mage Wall a bit. I do want to tweak Mage Wall a bit. I'll take a quick break and I'll be right back. Okay, well, I think... I don't know, I guess the only thing that's kind of looking a little strange to me about Mage Wall is that the very bottom of it has parts that are empty sometimes. But it's random, right? So it's like, it's not like we can control that. I don't want to just boost the particles. Maybe we can have a secondary... I don't know. It's missing something, you know, like... I think I don't know how to make it look like this, but I want it to look more like... If you think of like a flickering candle, or like a wavy kind of candle, and then like a couple layers of waves. But right now it's just like dots going straight up and that's it. I mean, it looks fine because it does conform to the tile size. But also there should be some variability to the speed, I feel like, to make it look a little more dynamic. So we do have, let's see, we have an emission area, linear acceleration. Okay, I might want to put... Okay, let's just put... Let's put a mage wall in the scene where we're spawning at. Just so we can test and tweak some stuff in the class. So, here in 7.5, we want to put a mage wall and activate it. So... Let's do that map declaration at 7.5. Okay, so we're gonna say 7.5 gets a mage wall just for testing, and it gets activated. So we'd have to say there's our mage wall, okay. Oh, excuse me. Okay. Yeah, it just looks so, I don't see any variation of speed as they grow up. So let's see if we give it... What does the first parameter on set linear acceleration do? Okay, just moves it right. So yeah, if we want any variability on the X... Maybe we want to use a sine function or something for this, but... You know what? I mean, it's like... It's not that I want it to go diagonal necessarily, it's just that I want the vertical to be a bigger difference. So if we do -3 or -18, can we see a difference in speed? Actually, yeah, that does kind of look cool. Because some are going slow. Well, that's weird. It's like they all look like they're going the same speed. Oh, they aren't. They aren't. I could see they aren't. Okay. So yeah, I say maybe we just add... You know, I want it to be more blue. And I think we need a bit more emission. So let's go to 700 instead of 500. Let's see how this looks. Once it stabilizes like that. Yeah, I want more variety and speed. Okay. Also, I think maybe 800. I don't know. It's like I don't want the Oh, you know what? I think this random, because basically we want each particle to have a different speed, not the whole particle system to have a random speed. So I think I'm misunderstanding how I can get individual particles to be different speeds as opposed to our whole system. Because this is just a random number in this range. So if we have a smaller range, it'll be closer to that -20 speed, which should be faster. Doesn't look very fast. Okay, so yeah, this isn't what I was hoping it would do. Because this is just, well, if it sets the linear acceleration every update, it would change over time. Okay, I guess what I want to see is like if we give it a big value, a big range of negative and positive, if it changes and fluctuates over time. Because if it does, so like we should get some going up, some going down, and different speeds. Yes. Okay, so it does function like this. Oh, this looks kind of cool. Like, this does look kind of cool. Okay, so it does work like this. Because yeah, some are going slow, some are going fast. So I want basically this, but only going up. Okay. So we might just need to boost the range then. So if we want negative, we want some going slow, some as slow as 2, some as high as 100. Both negative. Then let's see how that looks. Yeah. That's looking better to me. 100 is probably too fast. Yeah, it looks... Yeah, I like how this looks better. We basically, like, multiplied the speed by 4 for the top end. This looks good. Okay. Let's try to do this. We'll put this back into Mage, or let's just load it in Mage's castle, see how it looks in there. So the only thing we have to keep in mind with this is that right now, the collidable map objects for Mage's castle are only being inserted upon an opening cinematic trigger, which when we're playtesting the game and when we deploy it, we don't change to the opening cinematic at the moment, so we never add those collidable map objects. So we have to kind of manually add them and then take them out for the deployment. So that, you know, it basically, we just need to add to the save data. Once that object is in there, copy it over, but we aren't doing that at the moment. So let's see how Mage's castle, or Mage's wall looks like. It should trigger here. Nice. Ooh, yeah. It does look maybe too much. Maybe too fast. Okay, what did it used to be? It used to be 12, and we've gone it to be like a little slower on the slow end and almost twice as fast on the fast end. I think that's good. Let's test it. Not what I wanted. We also need to trigger the final cinematic upon a successful song completion. Crap. I didn't pay attention and see if it faded in or not. Let's do it again. Wow, the game's starting to feel real, man. Nice, man. That looks great. That looks really good. Okay. So, we've got Mage's Wall active there, which is good. It exists in the map, so it only transitions. Oh. This is interesting. We're updating the particle system on a begin scene transition. Well, yeah, what's the difference there? When we're leaving the system, it still updates. When we're entering the system, it doesn't update. Huh. Why does it do that? It updates it when we're in the map. We still update if we update the current map, but not the next map. So we have to update the next map's particle systems if we want that to change. So let's do that. Oh my god. We basically want to say we update our particle systems table if it is a next map. Where do we do this? Like, it's in the map. Particle system render. So look, if there is a particle system in the map, then we go ahead and render, but we have to do the update, so the map particle update. If not shifting update particle system, I think we want to just update it regardless. I'm okay with the particle systems updating in the map. Or was that the scene or was that the map? It was the map. Okay. I think I'm okay with this. Okay, let's see. Huh. It still doesn't update on a scene transition because we're not updating it in the next map. So let's keep that. But we basically need to update the particle systems in the next map if there is one. So whenever we check if there's a next map, yeah, so in the scene, if there is a next map, is this in the update? No, this is in the render. Okay, I think in the update, we want to say, if there is a next map, then go ahead, go into that next map, particle systems table, and go ahead and update every particle systems, as well as only do it if the next map particle systems index 1 does not equal nil. There is a particle system, therefore we want to cycle through Okay, so we basically, in the scene update, where the scene has reference to both the current map and the next map if there is one, we're saying, well, if the scene does have a next map, then we're going to see if it has a particle system. And if it does have a particle system, then we're going to cycle through all the particle systems and update them so that we can see that update as we scene transition. So let's see. Oh, 538. Oh, shit. I don't know why it crashed here. It got to this block of code, so there is a particle system in the next map. But it crashed. So if there's a next map, we render. Okay, so the next map, oh, it's not, oh shoot. It's not a particle system in the map. It's a particle system in the scene in relation to the map. So it has to be whatever this next map. Shoot. There should be a next map row and column that we have. So let's look at the begin shifting. Okay, so we get, this is what we want. The next map, it's gonna be the next map's first two params here. So it's gonna be the dot row and dot column for the next map. Yeah, dot row, dot column for the next map. So we should be able to do here for the particle systems, we say it's not that it's the next map particle systems, it's that it's the scenes at the next map's dot row column. That particle systems table. Then we cycle through, you know, this would be the same. Okay. Yeah, so now if there is a next map, we're going to go into the scene of that next map, particle systems table, so that we can start updating it as we're transitioning, as we're shifting into that scene. So we're going to cycle through all the particle systems of that next map's location and go ahead and update those particle systems. I don't know, there's a very little, yeah, index and nil value on 538. If there is a particle system there, then we're trying to update piece systems index v. Actually, we could just say v update. Because we're looking for the particle systems to update. Oh, that's it. I think. Yeah, that looks like it. Okay, well, let's see at the beginning. Nope, not the right one. Okay, so we're looking for it to update the particles when we're shifting into the scene. It does look like it's working. Sweet. Okay, and then, yeah, this should work the same. Nice, man. Okay. Okay, so the big thing is if we want to play it from the beginning, we have to, you know, if we want to play it not from the beginning, right? If we want the mage wall to be active as a collidable map object without going through the opening cinematic, we need to insert them, which is kind of why we had them here in the first place, right? We had a mage wall here, mage barriers right here. So we insert the mage barriers here so that we can, and we're not activating it either. Shoot. So let's see. If we don't trigger the opening cinematic, let's see how, if the mage wall is there. I think the collidable wall will be there, but the particle wall will not be, but we'll see. Okay. Yes. Okay, so the particle isn't there, but the wall is. Yo, Leaf, what's up? It's going good. It's going good. We're just, you know, still trying to finish the demo, so still working at it. Okay, so we do have, you know, we need to activate the mage wall, essentially. So I guess what we could do is we can have this whole block as a toggleable, we'd want to go into the particle system, or where do we add the particle system first of all? Okay, we add the particle system here. We become active here. Okay, so yeah, we want to do this. I want to say we want to do this up here. Oh, God. Yeah, right here in mage wall barriers, I want to say, we'll insert a magic mage wall where it's supposed to go, and we'll activate it. And we'll just turn this off. We basically want to say, this is like, yeah. Because basically, we only insert the collidable map objects in the opening cinematic, which all players will do naturally because it's the first thing you play. But as we're playtesting it, we need to give us these map objects so that they're there when we enter Mage's Castle. So we're kind of manually inserting them here instead of letting the opening cinematic do it. But when we go to deploy, we have to remember to turn these off so that it functions as normal if you play it from the opening cinematic. But giving it those values here will hopefully make the mage wall active for both particle system and collidable map objects. Okay, well, it's right. I don't like, it gets that weird, okay. So you know what, this is okay. We don't have to worry about fixing this, because on the initial play, we had that leakage of particles, and that's for the emission rate and stuff. But when people play it for real, they won't, it'll exist as an emission. It's just we haven't activated the render yet. So it works if you play nice from the beginning, like in the real game. It's just that when we're testing it, we're emitting the particles the instant we walk in here, which gives us that leakage, which isn't a huge deal. It doesn't matter, when people play it, they won't experience that. It's just that when we play it, we'll see it. So it's not a big deal. I'm changing meditation idols names to Zazen idols because I just found out that Zazen is a type of seated meditation. So I thought that would be a cool name for the idols, because you sit to meditate when you go in front of those. So I thought that would be cool. Okay, so I think what's next on the menu is, see, look at the seated meditation there. I think what's next is we will try to trigger the final cinematic only on the scene, because like if you put on your lute and then try to play, if you get no wrong notes, if you don't hit 5 wrong notes, it'll turn green, but it shouldn't. Part of the riddle is that you have to play it on the right scene, right? So we're going to put like a little emblem on the floor here with a music note to kind of signify that, hey, you need to play the song over here. Like that's the kind of answer to the riddle. So once you play it on this scene, it triggers, oh God, not that. Oh lordy. Okay, let me just equip. I'm gonna equip our tunic back on by default, and then yeah, we basically need to set, it'll we don't have a way to reread the tome, which I don't quite like, because if they forget what's on the tome, they don't have a way to reread it. So maybe we have a place in, maybe what we can do is we can put the tome objects in our bedroom once we get them, so that you can come in there and read them again, or something like that, because that gives us another reason to use our bedroom, because right now it's just so empty. We have our loot initially in here. But yeah, we basically need to equip the loot here and play the song here. So it turned green, so that needs to trigger our corrupted waters to be clean waters. So that's the end of the demo. So we just need to have this trigger. You know, I manually clicked the button that triggers it, but we need to make it trigger upon a successful song if you're on this scene in the game. So it'll still turn green normally, but the water won't be cleansed unless you play it on this scene, because it's just how it's part of the riddle, right? So we also need to prevent the player from walking while this is happening. So we'll have to figure that out too. I'm going to take a quick break. I'll be right back though. Okay, so I really don't think this will be that hard. Let's git commit what we've got here. We updated our magic wall to be a little more particles and a little bit more variety. We added the active so that it fades on. We update our particle systems during a scene transition in the map, so now they don't pause on the scene transition. Which, you know, I think it looks cool when you see it update, because it's like certain things like we add in our game that if you're in a dialogue box and there's animatable tiles like water moving behind you, the water doesn't pause while you're reading the dialogue. So I think it's okay for our particle systems to update during a scene transition. I think that's okay. Okay, so we've got that commit in. Let's work on the loot activation here, which is basically how to beat the demo, which we need in the game. So I do think I don't think this will be tough. When we equip the loot and hit the Action B button with it equipped, it'll bring up this thing. So this is the loot state. It's not a state, it's actually just a class. Loot state is just a variable that we use to update this class, which pauses our game. Actually, I don't think it does pause our game. Yeah, it doesn't pause our game. But basically, we have this win method, right, for green. So at this point in time, if the song finish timer is greater than 0, meaning the song is done scrolling on, and if we have less than 5 wrong notes, then we're going to trigger green. So what we could do, this is just for the render, but what we could do is have a sort of thing in here in the update You know, it's the same thing where if our timer's started, meaning the song is finished, and we have less than 5 incorrect notes. Yo, what up, Salto? What up, dude? Yo, I took a couple days off work, so yesterday I was dead to the world. Today I am trying to make up for some of the lost time yesterday. So yeah, it's going good, going good. I needed some time off, man. I did absolutely nothing yesterday. It was awesome. I watched the entirety of this show I've been wanting to watch for a while. Okay. Yeah, it was a for real chill. Like, I did have like work. Both of my works emailed me at one point asking for something, and I jumped on it and did it in like 2 seconds so that I can go back to real chillin'. So it's like I was like kind of on call. Probably should have turned my phone off, but it didn't occupy much because I just hopped on and did it real quick. Okay. Yeah, we want to do this. It's hard because we manually change out of this state if our song finish timer is long enough, right? So if we've finished for longer than 1 second, we trigger out of here, which right here, loot state gets false. So this is, yeah, exactly. And that was the goal. I was like, dude, I gotta get, it's like a hot potato. I'm like, dude, I gotta get this out of my head right now. So I just hopped on it and did it. Because even if I would have seen it and then not done anything about it, it would be lingering, and that's worse. So I was like, I just did it. Okay, so we do have this. I'm a little worried here. Like, what we could do, we could pass a Boolean to our scene. You know, we can add a scene Boolean that says Tome 1 finished or something. Because what we want to do is we need to trigger the water cleanse. We need to do 2 things. We need to trigger the water cleanse upon a solid success, but then we need to limit the player movement, which we do have a state for that. So we have to make like a actively solving, or, you know, like active Tome 1 solve. And then if active Tome 1 solve will trigger it, let's just get to it, because right now it's on the button N press, I think. Yes. So look, we have a state for Tome 1 success state. What does that even do? Because what we're really doing is we're updating our animatables. Tome 1 success state. This would probably just change the starting quads of our animatable water tiles. So let's see, Tome 1 success state. Where is that? Okay, so in here, what we're doing is we're initializing our map. We're setting the map to be the current row. We're flushing our animatables. We're inserting them from what? Water alpha. Okay, so the Tome 1 success state essentially just does it ever switch back to play state? Oh god. It's gotta go. It should switch us back to play state. It does. Okay, so as soon as the water's fully fading in, we change to a play state. So we should have this. I think it's called a player cinematic state for our player that basically lets the player stay put and input directions don't modify the player. I think it's player cinematic or something like that. Because basically during this state, we need the player to be locked, right? So player cinematic state, that's it. So what we need to do is once we shift, you know, when we hit the N button to take us into the state. We want to change the state, but we want to change our state on our player to stop us from moving. But once we're done updating our Tome 1 success state, we need to go back to idle so that we can move again. So before we go back to play state, we're going to change our player's state to idle so that we can move again. So let's just test if the moving is now working in the Tome 1 success state. And by working, I mean not working, because it shouldn't allow us to move. So let's go over there. And the Tome 1 success state overwrites the animatables for water, but it renders it on the current scene. So if I were to hit N, it would screw everything up. So let's do it now, though. Now that we're on the right scene, we'll hit it. And I'm trying to walk, and it doesn't do anything, which is good. Cool. So that does work. It does lock us, but we rendered our wrong tunic. Let's go to a play state of, let's spawn us at Mage's Castle so we don't have to walk over there. That is a 9-2. Let's go back to 9-2 spawn. Okay. We just need our player to be a little different. Let's go Y of 3. Nice. Okay. So yeah, we're here. Now, in tome state, why are we rendering the tunic in the completely wrong location? Like, because in our Tome 1 success state, we just are just not doing that right. We should have some conditional rendering on the tunic, but we don't have a green tunic equipped here, so it's a little weird why. Oh, I think we need to add it to our player cinematic state. Yeah, that makes sense. We need to add the conditional tunic rendering on the player cinematic state. Cause we're only doing this. We're only doing this, what, if we're falling? Oh, see, this is just so wrong. So what we'll do is we'll say, if we're not falling, let's render the default tunic layer. We can't be falling here, though. Cinematic state, you can't be falling. So let's get rid of that. So we basically just want to render the tunic over our player. If the tunic's equipped, and we'll start with green tunic. Really screwed that one up. Okay, so it's not. Let's look at our idle state or walk state and see what it is. Right here. So this is the stuff. So in our cinematic state, we're going to say, well, if our tunic's equipped, we're going to draw, not fall. Why fall, dude? Why fall? Not push, not fall, just normal. Okay. Yes, we rendered the tunic at the player's location over the tunic if we're in the cinematic state, if it's equipped. So let's see. We should have it. Nice, it's working. I'm locked. It plays out and then we can move. Cool. So ideally, I think what I want to have happen... Maybe what we can do is, like, you can cleanse the water, and then when you walk up here, maybe as soon as you go past this halfway mark, mage can come down and he'll tell you, hey, you finished the demo, essentially. You know, he won't say that, but he'll say good work. It seems like you've unlocked the pathway to the Forbidden Forest. And then he'll say, you know, stay tuned on Steam for the full update so you can play the rest of the game. Whatever that means. He'll say, I don't know what Steam is, but be sure to wishlist Tashio Tempo. That's what he'll say. Okay. This is cool. So now instead of pressing N, right, we need to trigger this upon two conditions. We get the finished song. Yeah, we get the finished song, and we have less than 5 errors. Then we need a swap. Okay, so this is going to be Tome 1 success, yeah? Why do we need this? Do we need to update this? I feel like we don't need to update animatables. Oh, it does fix a little bug. Okay, that's good to know. Okay. So Tome 1 success right here is in the play state, and it needs to not be in the play state. We're triggering this based from the loot state, because that's how we have those variables that know incorrect count, correct count, song finish timer. So it is in the play state. Okay, so we need to trigger this. Yeah, I think what happens is we could, yeah, for right now, I'm gonna leave it commented out just so that we can manually trigger it again if we want to test. But it's commented out, we're in the loot state, and we want to do this where we say if song finish timer is greater than 1, we want to basically check the scene that we're currently in, because we need to know if the player played it in the right spot. So it's a 7-5, is it? 9-2, way off, 9-2. So we're going to say if by the time the song is finished, actually, yeah, it's finished. So just by the time the song's finished and it's been 1 second, we're going to say, okay, well, the first thing we're going to do is check if the map at our scene view, or actually, we just want to check if our scene view current map 9.5 dot row is equal to 9, and scene view dot current map column is equal to 5. If those two things are true, and we want not assignment operator but equality. Okay, if row is 9 and column is 5, then we want to go ahead, lock our player movement, change us to a tome success state, and update our animatables, but we have to also probably just do this. change to loot state. So I guess the first thing we can do is say we for sure want to come out of loot state, but then we want to do this. So it's tough. We're gonna have to play the whole song and see if it works. Because basically, yeah, as soon as the loot is done, as soon as the song is done, we start counting. After 1 second, we need to only do this if the conditions are met, right? If we only have, when we go to do green, this stuff, if the song finish timer, yeah, right here. Okay, so yeah, in the update, if the song is done, we need to check if we've successfully passed the song, which is here. So if it's greater than 1, we just want to check okay. So here, the song is done. We're going to start incrementing. After 1 second, we're going to check the status of the song. So if we've missed less than 5 and the song's done, then we're going to check the map. And if we're at the map, that solves the riddle. Then we're going to go ahead, lock our player movement, update our corrupted waters, and then loot state false so that we stop rendering the loot. So let's see. I'm just going to not play anything and see if it... I'm going to not play anything and see if it just exits as normal. So we should miss 5 here. Okay, we missed 5. It still lets you play. Okay, we missed. It seems like water is fine. So let's try again and let's try to get it and see if it triggers correctly. Let's try to play it this time correctly. Oh! It didn't trigger. It didn't trigger. 9-2. God damn it. 9-2, not 5. Okay, 9-2. Let's try that. So we need to check a success on the right screen and a success on the wrong screen and make sure we don't accidentally set it. So let's try it one more time on this screen. Oh my god. I fucked it up. Oh, let's go, let's go. It's hard, dude. Okay, here we go, here we go. Yes! Cleansed water. We didn't render our loot. Our loot didn't render because our player cinematic state doesn't render equipped items, which is a mistake. Because yeah, we should have. So yeah, see how the little elements in our hand there? We need to render that in the player cinematic for both the loot and the element in the player cinematic state. Because when we play the loot, the player automatically faces down, so that's okay. We just need to, let's look at our player walk state. We need to do the loot equip, so we basically, in our player cinematic state, we need to do something like this. Player cinematic state. The order of operations goes base layer, then tunic, then loot stuff. So we're saying if our loot is equipped and we're not falling and we're not pushing, which we shouldn't, you know, that's not really necessary, but it's whatever. Then we render the loot at the current frame, at the current location. That should get us our loot back in the player cinematic state, but we still need our equipped Flamma. So we're looking at player walk state. We should have this in player cinematic state as well. And after we check that, we say if our self-player element equipped is Flamma, we're not pushing, let's go ahead and render Flamma in our hand. Okay, so let's try that one more time. And we're going to get Flamma rendered in our hands too, to just make sure that if we have it equipped, it would still render in the player cinematic state. So let's try it. This is something I wish Guitar Hero always had, is like in Guitar Hero, if you miss a note, it just sounds like dog shit. Oh, it worked, it worked, it worked, it worked. If you miss a note in Guitar Hero, it sounds like crap. But in this game, if you miss the note, the sound you hear is the note you actually played. So it's the wrong note, but it doesn't sound like unnecessarily awful. You could potentially play a different note and have it sound decent if it's a, you know, good combination of notes, but it doesn't sound intentionally awful like Guitar Hero when you miss a note. It sounds like what it would normally sound like. So I like that aspect of it. So let's try to do it again, and let's try to do it on the wrong scene, right? Because it shouldn't trigger. It'll still be green if we get it right, but it should show up. Or it shouldn't change the purple. So if it changes the purple, or if it changes our scene location, then we did it wrong. But let's try to play it right and see if it locks us. Okay, we got green. We did not change the cinematic. This is great. This is awesome. So this is basically, yeah, that's basically the end of the demo is you cleanse the water on the right scene. So we've got that working. I don't know. We probably do want to do like a little mage dialogue box to explain to the player, because I don't want the player, you know, in the demo, they won't really know that this is the end of the demo. Right? So like either once the water gets cleansed, we fade to another state that says thanks for playing, stay tuned on Steam for updates or something. Either we do that, or we add in game where mage comes out and tells you, you know, something. So maybe what we can do for now, is once the water's cleansed, instead of giving back player control right away, what we do is we fade to black. We fade in some screen that says, thanks for playing the demo. Tashio Tempo will be released in the future. I don't know what to say there. But just so that the player knows that that's the end of the demo and that they're not trying to get into the sand biome or the forbidden forest. So I kind of like the idea of Mage coming in and saying stuff, but also if he says stuff, people might think that there's more to the demo. So like maybe as a teaser, I don't know. I think the move is we trigger a fade in. See, where would we do it though? I guess what we can do is have a new state machine that takes in the current scene's stuff. I don't know. We can add it just like how we've got... I don't know how we do it actually. Because I'd like it to fade in so it's not so abrupt. But fading in is like a whole other thing. We've got to add it to the play state. So, or to the scene. I think that's the move though. I think instead of just cleansing the water, we'll cleanse the water. I'll make some music of like a magical kind of harp music or something while it gets cleansed, and then we'll fade in a new screen to the game that says thanks for playing the demo. Follow the page on Steam for updates. And then a little like flashing continue so that you can hit continue, and then you come right back to your game, and then you can either go harvest some more minerals so that you can upgrade your spellcast elements. You can explore a little bit more if you haven't already, and then basically so that they can play the game still instead of just the game ending. They just kind of can resume their game after they beat the demo. So I think that's the move. So the toughest part is probably going to be the fade in, which I guess for now we can just plop it in the scene location. So in our scene we can say demo finished. We can have a demo finished sort of deal. Okay, and then let's turn back on for testing purposes. We'll turn on the manual tome success state so that we can test the fade in here. So we have a demo finished on our scene, and it's just a boolean right now, but basically we're going to say in the update, now this will fade in and probably change state. I don't know, state, it's probably like, it might be overkill to add a whole state to this. But if we just fade something in, then the player's still in the player cinematic state. So where do we switch from the player cinematic state back to the walk state or the idle state? Right here, we just do it. We trigger here. Okay, so at the end of the Tome 1 success state. Okay, so we do have a Tome 1 success state, so we'll just plop in the demo finished into the Tome 1 success state before we switch back to play state, which makes sense. So we'll put it here in the update. We'll see, okay, well, is the demo finished? In our scene, we'll remove the demo finished initialization before we forget. Come back to Tome 1 success state, we have an init of demo finished false. So basically, we're switching to our player idle right here if the water alpha is 25. We don't necessarily want to do that just yet. So we don't want to do these two things just yet. But, you know, if the demo's finished, we have to also say if the demo's finished and faded in, whatever we do for that, we want to go back to the play state so that we can resume the game. But for right now, all water fading in is doing is cleansing the water and cleansing the global water so that it updates the animatables, but our player is still locked via the player cinematic state on the player. So that's good because we need to basically say, okay, once water fades in, the demo is now finished, essentially. And all that's going to do is say, well, you know, if the demo's finished, we're going to say that there's a demo screen opacity, something like that. Demo screen, or like thanks for playing screen. What do we call it? Credit screen. Oh, we could run the credits too. We could run the credits after the demo is done too. If demo's finished, we want to basically start incrementing a rectangle on screen, essentially. So actually, I think I want to fade it over the current scene. So a lot like how our current credit screen is working. So if you look at our credit screen, it rolls like this, right? So we can just rehaul this as thanks for playing and then a credited supporters. Because I like that you'll still see the cleansed water in the background. You'll still see your Tashio with whatever you've got equipped. You'll still see the scene that you did the thing at. You know, maybe we'll do the lava instead of the rain here for the credits, just because it's more like thematic. And then either once the credits finish playing out, or when you hit the C button or whatever, then you can go back and you can resume your game. So I like that. I think that's the way to do it. So we'll do something very similar that we have for our credits. So if we look at what our credits is, it's just a credit sequence. So we have a credit sequence that toggles. We update both rain and snow particle systems. Okay, we have a credits Y, credit speed. Oh god. Okay, so we just have a credits Y for a credit sequence, and then our credits Y is just the Y that we're rendering this thing at. Okay, so here is essentially what we need for the credits. So in our tome 1 success state, we'll do this and we'll say if credit sequence, you know, we'll call this demo credit sequence, and this will be a local variable to this class, and this is the right background color I like. We don't want the rain system. We probably want maybe the lava system here. But yeah, we'll have credited supporters and we'll give some info about the game. So if demo becomes finished, which happens once the water is fully faded clear, we don't want to do this just yet. But if demo's finished and A button is pressed, we want to switch and cut out. Because if, you know, I guess we can allow, well, I don't know. Should we force people to watch the credits? Or allow them to skip it? Because if they play more than once, you know, they want to get back to playing, they might just want to be able to skip it. So maybe we can do it where you have to hit skip like 3 times so they don't accidentally skip it. I don't know. Because I don't like the idea of someone seeing if they could speed up the credits and accidentally closing them. So, I don't know. I guess we could actually, yeah, we could just add a button. If you hold any button while the credits are playing, it'll speed it up. That way we don't accidentally cut the credits off completely, but also people who want to speed it up can speed it up. I know some games do that. I think that may be the move. We can just speed up the scroll rate if a button is held. Okay, I think I like that. Okay, so if demo's finished, we don't change this back. You know, we need a resume game, basically. So we can say something here, you know, if the credits Y or whatever it is, credits Y. You know, if something, we want to do this. Change our state back to playable. But if it's the demo finished, this is where we need to do, either we need to fade in the background or, yeah, I like the fade in. It is a bit more work, but it's whatever. It looks smoother. So I've just got to take a pee break. I'll be right back. Okay, so yeah, we want... Yeah, so we want this thing here called, like, you know, if the credits are done, whatever that is, go back to player idle state. I guess we get to decide if we want to fade it in there too, but basically demo gets finished when water fades in. If demo finished, then we want to fade in the opacity. So we want to say demo's finished. So let's go ahead and just say that the demo screen opacity is gonna get incremented by, if we want it 1 second, we would multiply it by 60. So if we want it 2 seconds, maybe we multiply it by 30. So, but we also, we don't want to go past 255. So we say math.min 255, otherwise increment, so that if the demo's finished, we do this. It should probably be called demo credit fade in or something, but demo screen opacity. So let's give us this demo screen opacity. Initialized as 0. We're going to increment it when the demo's finished, but it's actually not 255, it's actually 190 because it fades to not pure opaqueness. And we're setting the color of this to be the self.demo screen opacity. So let's just see if we can manually trigger it and see it fade in here. So blah, blah, blah. Let's pretend we finished it and it fades in and then we crash. Delta time here is not in the update. So we need to go make sure we're in the update. Plop in if demo finished, do this. What did I just do? Okay. And delta time crashing us again. Because that was the wrong place. We've got to put this in the update, which is right here. Okay. If our demo's finished, now what do we do? Where are we setting demo finished? See, this is weird. This shouldn't be in the render. This should be in the update also. Okay. So if water alpha all fully faded in, we're demo finished, and if we're demo finished, we update our screen opacity so that we fade in the background here. The credits might pop in sooner, but let's see. Oh, we're not even updating our scroll Y, so that won't work. Okay. Demo credit sequence. Yeah, we don't even have that. So we need a credits Y that gets updated just like our other credits Y. So credits Y we have right here. We have a credit speed. So if our credit sequence is on, we're going to update our Y by credit speed. So same here. You know, if our demo's finished, then we're going to go ahead and just move up our credits Y. But it's actually only if the demo screen opacity is reached its full opacity. So if this is equal to the 190, then we're going to update our credit speed and then also become credit sequence true, right? For demo credit sequence true. So demo credit sequence is going to be, let's just do demo credits sequence gets false. So we don't have a local variable in there. So we'll do this demo self.demo credits sequence. Was it camel case? Demo credits sequence. Demo credits sequence. Yes. Okay. So demo finished. So we're gonna go fade in the screen. Once the screen's fully faded, we're gonna become self.demo credits sequence gets true. So we get that to be true, and that's what's going to start rendering the stuff, but we don't have the particle system, so if we keep that in there, it will crash. So let's just not do that at the moment and just try to scroll in the credits. So we'll hit N here. Water gets cleansed. We should fade in here, which we are not. Yeah, we should fade in the screen there. So our demo credits sequence is not getting triggered, or our demo screen opacity is not getting incremented. So we need to find that out. Demo credit sequence is getting true. So let's say that this demo credit sequence only at demo screen opacity. Okay, that should work. So demo finish should get true. Only thing I could think of is if we're switching back to the play state just yet. But, oh, credits done. We don't have this just yet. Okay, so it's just not... I don't know what it's not picking up. It should fade in here because we have a demo screen opacity. So if we were to do this, demo credits sequence gets true. Well, we're never setting it true. We have to set demo credit sequence to true. Oh, we are right here. It should work. I'm going to try to render demo screen opacity outside of it being credit sequence. And that's not working either. What the fuck? What? Okay, we're just missing something. You know, we can print up. Let's print up these values. We'll say that we want to set our color. Okay, so the first thing we want to check is this demo credit sequence. Okay, as soon as it hits 255, it should be true. And it doesn't, so that's the issue. So demo credits sequence is never becoming true. So self dot demo credit sequence is never becoming true, which means our opacity is never hitting 190, even though we're saying that we're going to add demo screen opacity. Okay, so let's see if this hits 190. Demo screen opacity hits 190. It should increase to 190 and then stop. Okay. Yeah, it's not even incrementing. Demo screen opacity is not incrementing, so that means that this demo credits sequence isn't even getting triggered. Or no, it means demo screen opacity, if demo finished, if water alpha is greater than or is equal to 255. Maybe that's the issue. Where are we doing this water alpha? Okay, we do clamp it to 255, so Yeah. All right, we just need demo screen opacity to actually get incremented here. It is not wanting to. What the heck, dude? Let's print up water alpha. It hits 255, dude. We must be exiting the play state somehow. I feel like we're exiting the play state. Or exiting the Tome 1 success state somehow. Tome 1 success state. Okay, let's print up the state name and just make sure we're staying in this state. Yeah, we stay in the state. So what the heck, dude? We're not increasing our opacity at all here. Demo screen opacity. Start off as 0. Oh, this is in... Oh, shoot. We put this in cleanse the global water, not the update. All this needs to be in the update. That was my bad. I mean, all of this is my bad, really. Okay, that should work now. Okay, we're looking for that background to fade in. Nice. Yes. It is too slow. Okay. At least that's triggering. So let's do this where we say, okay, our demo screen opacity is growing. Should grow a little faster. And then credits Y needs to get initialized. So let's say it's going to start out as virtual height. Okay, so our opacity goes up. See, I don't get why we're not setting the color for the rectangle here. Demo credits sequence. Okay, once we hit that demo screen opacity of 190, oh, see, that's wrong. Yeah, we want to just say, if demo's finished, yeah, we want to just start. Let's just say we start there. Because we need to render the demo credit sequence so that the background fades in. And then we can scroll them on. Number expected. Bad argument 3 to printf. Number expected. Okay, let's see. So water fades in. Screen darkens. And it renders credits. Okay. This is the wrong font for the credits. But we also need to say thanks for playing. Follow Tashio online or something like that. Thanks for playing the demo, you know, something like that. What is the font we like for this? It should fade in faster, right? Demo screen opacity could be less of a limit than 190 or more of a limit or less transparent. So yeah, maybe like 170. Let's try that. And then we'll speed up the fade in by maybe double. It'll take like half a second to fade in. And then what we want to do, we want to set the right font for the credits. I don't know what font it is for the other one. Classic font? Pixel font? Where's the credits? Classic font? Pixel font. God damn it. Okay, let's try it pixel font. Okay, so water gets cleansed, screen darkens, credits roll, pixel font is not right, but this one isn't bad. What's the one we've got? Classic font? Yeah, classic font. Okay, cool. So we'll add to this, right? We'll add Uh-oh. Our water is not updating. Oh, because we didn't change back to a play state. Okay, so we do need a couple more things, like we want to speed up the credits sequence, right? If you hold a thing, hold a button. If the credits, you know, if we hit... How did it quit? How did it quit? We just manually did it quit? Our Flamma looks wrong there, too. Shit. Okay. Why did our Flamma... Oh. Our Flamma renders wrong. In the tome state. Let's fix that real quick. I think it's Flamma 2 we want to render in the tome success state. Yeah. This is wrong, man. Yeah, it is Flamma 2. And only if it's equipped. So we'll do this. In opening tome success state, only if Flamma is equipped do we render the vibrancy, and we render a Flamma 2. And we'll render Flamma in our hand if it's equipped as well too. Okay, we just need to pull, when we render this element equipped llama, we just need to pull the animation from our player. And actually we do this, well, We don't need this. It's in the player class. Okay. Let's test this out. I want a little more time from the fade. I think it should fade in and give it a little bit more time. So when we do this, yeah, I think that the fade in is a bit too fast. Let's go down to 80. And we'll put, okay, credits by speed starts incrementing once it's fully faded in. That makes sense. But I want the demo finish to not be so true. So I want to offset this time a bit. I guess it doesn't really matter. Yeah, I want it to fade in a bit slower, I think. I want it some breathing room, you know, to be so demo finished. We should change this. Yeah, it's not that demo finish, it's that like credits get triggered, right? Okay, but the thing is, we don't want to trigger the credits right when water alpha is 255. We want to trigger the credits once it's been like a second after that. So like, so we'll just increment a credits timer, and once our credits timer is greater than 2 seconds, or we'll do 1 second for testing and we'll probably move it up to 2. But once credit timer is past 1 second, which means we've been water alpha cleansed for 1 second, then we're going to say, okay, well now our self.trigger credits is going to be true, and that'll fade us in. So we have like a 1 second offset for the fade to black. We need a credits timer initialization. Yep, I think 2 seconds is the move. I think 2 seconds is the move, but for testing purposes, I think this is okay. So let's try to get our lava system in here. So let's just say that there's a lava system, and it's gonna get. How do we do it for this rain system? We just say that it's like initialized, and then we gotta update, then we gotta render. So it's really easy. So we say lava system gets stored in a lava system. We're gonna update our lava system. But we only render it. We only render it if our credits are done, essentially. So once we have this trigger credits. Actually, yeah, that's wrong. Once we have this demo credits sequence, we're going to start rendering our lava system. So we're going to say self lava system render. Let's try this. Okay, fade to blue. There's lava as it fades. It should render after the thing, and it should render after the credit sequence, so it's on top, and only if the you know, if credits y is bigger than 0, we want to do this. Okay, let's try it. Nope, 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 nope. Actually, I kind of like that. It kind of looks cool, actually. Let's see, let's see. Lava's a bit ominous, but I like it. Ooh, it just stopped rendering. Okay, not if credits y is 0. We want to do this if... God dang, what's the first thing we do? We go water cleanse, so demo credits gets true if water alpha is greater than 255. So if demo credit sequence is true. Okay, so if self demo credit sequence is true, we're going to go render that lava system. That's not till the water's fully faded, which, yes, we should fade. Oh god. True, not greater than 0. Okay, we fade in. 255. Lava goes right away. I want the lava to fade in. So we'll set it to white. Other than the opacity, we'll just call it lava alpha. And it's going to be out of 255. Now, if demo credit sequence is true, we need to just update our lava alpha. We need to initialize the lava alpha. And then if demo credit sequence is done, we can do it right here too. We can say if water alpha is 255, we're going to say this lava system, this lava alpha is going to get the smaller of two numbers, one of which being full opacity and the other one being itself, plus delta time times whatever we want, so maybe 50 to make it fade in. Let's try it. Okay, water gets cleansed. Wow, it was too fast. Times 50, yeah, maybe times 20. God, it comes on too fast, man. Lava alpha. What the heck's going on with that? Okay, we should see this grow to 255 over time, but I feel like it's just going... Huh. Okay, so why does it render? Oh, the lava system must be setting the color. Okay, let's go to our lava system. Our lava system's got to be setting the color there. Yeah. When we render it, we set it to pure white right here anyway. So if we take that out and we just say, now it's at lava system and then at lava opacity, lava alpha, we're gonna say lava alpha gets this times 80 or times 50, I don't know. Times 50 would be what, over the course of 4 seconds fade in, or 5 seconds? I'm gonna get rid of the debug now that we're doing that. Okay. Nice. Okay, I like that. That's subtle. We'll probably give it one more second on the fade to black, but I'm liking this. So, yes, we will add more stuff like this. Thanks for playing. We'll say Tashio Tempo will be released in Q1 2027. Thanks for playing the demo. Let's try that. Yeah. Okay, so thanks for playing. Tashio Tempo will be reached, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so we want to speed up. We want to speed up the credits. So right now, credits Y is this self credits Y. And if we look at what credits Y is doing is we're just saying, okay, well, credits Y gets updated by credits speed. So we can add into the update, which is right here. We can say if any button is held down, we basically want to just speed up credits a little more than that credit speed. So we can just say, well, if input dot down is whatever action. For right now, let's just test it with action. Then we want to also modify credits by another credit speed, so it would effectively double it. And let's see how that looks. Okay, it does work. It works. We want to speed it up faster than this, but... Okay, so this would be, you know, we can multiply it by whatever, maybe times 3. And then we can also add other buttons like start or select also speeds it up. Just because if people play, yeah, let's see. Yeah, it can go a lot faster than that. Nice. So yeah, you can kind of scroll through fast if you don't want to wait so much and you just want to keep playing. But we will add some more stuff like thanks for playing, Tashio Tempo piece in 2027, and then we'll say source code is maybe we say view the source code at we can put in the repo there so people can see the source code. Source code is available at GitHub. Something like this. Uh-oh. Okay. Sweet. Thanks for playing. Tashio Tempo will be released in 2027. View the source code at, oh my god, that looks awful. github.com/findingfocus/Tashio. Yeah, that looks bad. It's so jacked up, dude. The heck, dude? Okay, thanks for playing. View the source code, github.com, finding focus, Tashio. Sweet. So yeah, ideally, we come out of play state at the end of this, which is a credits done. I've got to get going here soon, but maybe we'll try to do it. I've got to leave. gonna leave in 15 minutes. Yeah, I should probably call it. We'll do a little commit here, and then I'll tidy this up. Basically, all that I've got to do is set either a timer or has to be a credit Y position. At what credit Y position is the last line of text off screen. And then at that point, once credit Y has surpassed that position, we can then fade back to normal opacity. And then once that fade is done, we can switch back to our idle state and play state so that the player can continue playing as normal. So that's the last part of that. And then we basically have the player will, people will be able to actually beat the demo and get some feedback that they have beat the demo. So we're in a good shape. We're in a good shape. This is, we'll say that this is just added credit sequence. For demo build. Cool. Get pushed it. We'll call it a night. Call it a day. Call it an afternoon. Thanks for hanging, y'all. We'll run credits here. Let's find someone to raid out to, and I've got to get going. So, let's see. Practicals on. All right. Well, hey, I'll catch you tomorrow and be back for some more programming.